The year is 1846. A wagon train is trapped in early snow in the Sierra Nevada. The food is nearly gone. The choices are terrible. Do you send the strongest ahead for help? Do you hunker down and ration? Or do you do the unthinkable? In that frozen silence, a brutal logic takes over. It's not the logic of civilization, but the ancient, unspoken protocol of survival. And it follows an order. This isn't a story about that grim choice. It's about the sequence that leads to it. Across history, from mountain passes to lifeboats, humans and extremists have followed a similar mental checklist. This is a historical overview of that hierarchy, the unconscious order of operations for staying alive. The very first priority, witnessed in every historical crisis, is immediate safety and security. Before you think about food, before you worry about water, you must be safe from the immediate threat. This is what psychologists call the react and retreat phase. Historically, this meant getting out of the line of fire in a battle, fleeing the crumbling building in an earthquake, or putting distance between yourself and a sinking ship. The brain shifts into a hyper-focused state, seeking a secure position. Accounts from the Halifax explosion of 1917 or the London Blitz describe this instinct vividly. People's first actions weren't logical. They were reflexive moves toward cover and distance. You can't address any other need if you're in active, imminent danger. Once a temporary sense of security is achieved, the mind rapidly shifts to the next priority: shelter and core temperature management. Exposure is a silent, swift killer. Historical records from Arctic expeditions like Franklin's Lost Voyage are tragic testaments to this. Survival isn't about comfort. It's about stopping catastrophic heat loss or gain. The immediate historical response was to find or create a microclimate. This could mean getting out of the wind behind a rock, wrapping in a sailcloth, or in a group, huddling for shared warmth. The goal is to create a barrier between your body and the environment that's trying to kill you. As an old mountaineering proverb, attributed to many a seasoned guide, warns, you can die of thirst in 3 days, but you can die of exposure in 3 hours. With immediate safety and a rudimentary buffer against the elements secured, the third priority emerges with urgent clarity: water. The historical record is relentless on this point. Siege chronicles note the desperation when wells ran dry. Desert crossing narratives focus obsessively on water holes. The human body is about 60% water, and it fails spectacularly without it. Thirst impairs judgment within hours. But here's the key historical insight. The priority isn't just finding water, it's securing a clean and reliable source. Many historical tragedies, like those befalling early colonists who drank from brackish tidal rivers, were caused by rushing to quench thirst with poisoned water. The survival step is finding a protected source, a spring, deep groundwater, or collected rainwater, and having a means to purify it, historically through boiling or later, chemical means. Now, we arrive at the fourth priority: fire. In a historical context, fire is a transformative tool. It turns undrinkable water into drinkable water by boiling. It turns potential shelter into a warm refuge. It provides light to ward off fear and predators. It signals for help. It can cook food, sterilize tools, and dry wet clothes. Its psychological value is immense. A fire is a heartbeat of hope in the darkness. Survival accounts, from castaways like Alexander Selkirk to polar explorers, consistently describe the moment of getting a fire lit as a fundamental turning point, the moment they transitioned from passive victim to active agent in their own survival. It's a technology so ancient, its priority is baked into our psyche. The fifth priority, which often surprises people by coming after fire, is food. Yes, you can go weeks without it. But in a survival context, the quest for food begins here, not just for calories, but for cognitive capital. Severe hunger clouds thinking, saps energy for other critical tasks, and leads to desperate risks. Historically, this phase involved foraging, hunting, or fishing. All activities that require clarity, skill, and often the tools that fire provides. It also marks a shift from pure reaction to sustained strategy. You're no longer just stopping the bleeding, you're planning to stay alive tomorrow and the next day. Historical journals from trapped exploration parties show a distinct change in tone when they shift from despair over water to the focused, often ingenious, pursuit of food. These first 5 priorities, security, shelter, water, fire, food, form the non-negotiable core of the historical survival hierarchy. They address the body's immediate physiological needs and the mind's need for agency. They appear in this order in the annals of disaster, exploration, and war, not because someone wrote a manual, but because this sequence is written into our very biology. It's the story of how humans have, time and again, built a platform for survival from the ground up, one critical, life-sustaining block at a time. Once the fundamental pyramid of security, shelter, water, fire, and food is stabilized, the historical survivor's focus broadens. The immediate crisis of staying alive minute to minute transitions into the sustained challenge of staying alive day to day, and ultimately, week to week. This next tier of priorities is where ingenuity, community, and long-term thinking separate those who endure from those who merely persist. The 6th priority is first aid and medical care. In the initial rush for safety, adrenaline can mask injury. But once the body settles, a cut, a break, or an illness becomes a central threat. Historically, infection was the great shadow following any trauma. Accounts from the American Civil War, where minor wounds often led to fatal gangrene, underscore this. The priority shifts from "I am safe" to "I am not becoming sick or incapacitated." This meant cleaning wounds, setting fractures with improvised splints, and managing pain. It also meant preventative care, keeping feet dry to avoid trench foot, managing waste to prevent cholera. A double-wheat medic's memoir I once read put it starkly: "You treat the ones you can save to keep the ones who aren't hurt yet in the fight." The first bandage is for the body. The second is for morale. This leads us directly to the 7th priority, signaling and communication. Isolation kills hope, and hope is a survival tool. Once immediate needs are met, the historical imperative is to re-establish a link to the wider world, to potential rescue. This is seen in the behaviors of castaways, lighting signal fires on beaches, shipwreck survivors using heliographs, mirrors, to catch the sun, or downed pilots arranging rocks into giant symbols visible from the air. Signaling is the active rejection of hopelessness. It forces you to believe in a future where you are found, and that belief has tangible psychological power. It also serves a practical defensive purpose. Signaling your position to rescuers can also deter potential threats by showing you are not utterly alone and forgotten. The 8th priority is navigation and orientation. Where are you? Which way is safety? In historical tales of survival, from the Donner Party to Ernest Shackleton, the moment they lost their way was often the moment their situation turned critical. Navigation isn't just about having a compass, it's about situational awareness. It means understanding your relationship to landmarks, to water sources, to known paths. It's creating a mental map. Historical techniques involved observing the sun and stars, reading the flow of water, or noting the growth patterns of moss on trees. The priority is to stop being a passive occupant of a hostile space and to become a navigator within it, working toward a known objective rather than just reacting to immediate stimuli. 9th is sustainable resource management. This is the point where survival thinking matures into stewardship. You've secured water from a stream, now you must protect that source from contamination. You've foraged for food, now you need to identify renewable sources, and perhaps even begin small-scale cultivation or set snares for an ongoing calorie supply. You have a shelter, now you must improve its insulation, its drainage, its security. Historical accounts of long-term castaways like the Robinson Crusoe archetype always describe this evolution, from hunter-gatherer to homesteader. This priority is about recognizing that your initial solutions are temporary and investing labor now to create enduring systems that reduce daily risk and exertion. Finally, we reach the 10th and perhaps most profound priority: morale and psychological resilience. History shows that in prolonged crises, the mind often fails before the body does. Despair, apathy, and irrational conflict within groups have doomed many who had the physical means to survive. This priority is about the invisible tools: maintaining routine, fostering a sense of purpose, preserving social bonds, and finding moments of humor or beauty. Diaries from siege cities, prisoner of war camps, and exploration parties consistently highlight this. They describe the person who organized sing-alongs, the one who insisted on a daily shave, the sharing of memories of home. These acts aren't frivolous. They are the maintenance of the human spirit. They defend against the internal collapse that makes all other preparations meaningless. So, what does this complete historical hierarchy teach us? It reveals survival not as a collection of objects, but as a dynamic process of escalating focus. It starts with the animal brain: react, hide, drink. It moves through the practical brain: warmth, food, medicine, and it culminates with the social, strategic, and spiritual brain: connect, plan, sustain, hope. This framework didn't emerge from a theory. It was written in the hard choices of pioneers, the endured suffering of soldiers, and the quiet desperation of those who faced nature's indifference. It shows that resilience is sequential. You cannot maintain morale if you are dehydrated. You cannot navigate effectively if you are in shock. The order matters because our biology, our psychology, demands it. In the end, studying these historical priorities isn't about memorizing a checklist for doom. It's about understanding a fundamental human grammar, the syntax of resilience. It's recognizing that in the face of the unexpected, a clear mind that knows what to address first, second, and third is the most valuable asset of all. The items in your pack are useful, but the order in your mind is essential. Of the later survival priorities, first aid, signaling, navigation, resource management, or morale, which do you believe is most often overlooked or undervalued in our modern discussions of preparedness? Share your analysis in the comments below.